Welcome to another JIS Studio 58A. I'm your host for this afternoon, Twyla Whelan. Today we'll be talking about the Office of Utilities Regulation Guaranteed Standards GS Jingle Competition. And we have speaking with us from the OUR, Public Affairs Specialist Elizabeth Bennett Marsh. She's joining us on Zoom. For our viewers who have returned, welcome back to another session. And if you are new, we are so happy to have you. You are free to leave your questions and comments in the comment section below, as this is an interactive session and we want to hear from you. We want to hear all your questions and queries and concerns. And we want to invite you also to like and share this session with your family and friends in case they may have an interest in entering the competition and learning more about the guaranteed standards. So, at the end of 2020, the OUR launched officially the Guaranteed Standards Jingle Competition. And here to tell us a little bit more, as I mentioned before, is Elizabeth Bennett Marsh. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Twyla. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your viewers.
Excellent, excellent. So I wanted you to start off by telling me a little bit about why the office decided to have this jingle competition and why the focus on the guaranteed standards.
Well, Twyla, the guaranteed standards were developed quite a while now, for many years, and these are especially for the Jamaica Public Service Company and the National Water Commission, as well as some private water providers. But for the purpose of this competition, we're focusing on the JPS and NWC guaranteed standards because they are monopolies. They are the sole providers in the main of water and sewage and electricity services. We develop basic service standards to which we want customers to hold them accountable. And although these guaranteed standards have been in place for quite a few years, we recognize that not many persons are aware of them. Majority are, but the last survey we did, we normally conduct a national survey, and one of the questions that we'll ask in our survey is, how much do you know about the guaranteed standards for JPS and NWC? And the last one we did was 2019. And we recognized that about 44% of respondents knew little to nothing about the JPS standards, and about 46% of respondents knew little to nothing about the NWC guaranteed standards. And we said, no, that cannot be. We developed it for customers. And so we want customers to really be aware of it. So while the majority were aware of it, we wanted to increase awareness about the guaranteed standards.
Excellent. And I believe there are some new developments regarding the competition itself. Would you like to make your announcement?
Well, we have expanded, we have extended the deadline. The deadline was January 29. We have now extended it to February 26th at 11:59 p.m. That's on the nudge of midnight, but not quite midnight, because the minute it goes over into the next day, we can't accept it. So please ensure to send it to us, and we'll give you the contact details a little later on.
Perfect, perfect. And why have we decided to extend the deadline?
We decided to extend it because we have two categories of the competition, Twyla. We have the open category and the students category. Now, when we launched in November last year, as you said at the beginning of this segment, you mentioned that we had launched it correctly, so, and we did in November last year. Since then, students have been excited about it, especially secondary level students, because the student category is from 12 upwards, as long as you're from a recognized institution or from a music club. Otherwise, you can enter the open category. And we recognize that students would have had the December break. Mm-hmm. And when they came back in January, quite a few of them made overtures to us and asked if there's a possibility of extension. We didn't plan to extend it, but then we took also into consideration the fact that virtual learning, it's different from what a lot of students are used to. And so music teachers, for example, would have a challenge just getting some students on board, and even those who are interested, just getting them in a state of preparedness. And it's against that background, as well as, we would have looked and assessed the whole situation with COVID and so on. And we say, let's give them a month. Let's give them a month extra. So that's what we decided to do, although quite a number of entries have come in already.
That is quite a consideration being made by the OUR. I suppose it also is just a bigger part of taking into account the reality of COVID-19 and its impact.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
definitely.
All right. So I know that a big part of this has to do with, focusing more on the guaranteed standards, right?
Mhm.
So you mentioned before that persons, need to be able to hold these utility service providers accountable. Would you like to expand on that a little bit more as to how they can actually hold them accountable to executing or living up to these guaranteed standards?
All right, so let's talk a bit about, thank you for that, Twyla. Let's talk a little bit about the guaranteed standards
Right,
because that's what the jingle competition is about. Eh? So
right.
we want persons to include aspects of the guaranteed standards, maybe the name guaranteed standards, but
Mhm.
you have to understand it before you can actually tackle
That,
a
no,
jingle.
no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely
Right, right. So the guaranteed standards were developed, as I said before, for JPS and NWC for the purpose of this competition. We're talking about those two specifically to
right.
hold them more accountable to customers and for customers to hold JPS and NWC accountable to them.
Hmm.
And so, because for any breach, then the affected customer must be compensated. And I know quite a few of persons who are viewing this now getting excited. And we'll talk about the compensation. But when we talk about guaranteed standards, exactly what are they exactly? Because there are different types of standards, eh? But
There are.
these are basic service standards. So, for example, we know that JPS and NWC are allowed to give you estimated bills, but
Hmm.
there's a cap on the estimated bills. How many consecutive or back-to-back estimated bills should you get from JPS or NWC provided they have access to your meter? And the answer to that is two. That's a guaranteed standard. If they breach it, if they give you a third one, so you're getting December and January estimated bill. If you get another one for February, then you said, no, man, them have access to my meter. I know they've been here to read it before. That's a breach of my guaranteed standards, and you must be compensated. If they disconnect you because you didn't pay your bill, but you went and you paid everything that's outstanding, then they have 24 hours to reconnect you. If they don't, then that's another breach of your guaranteed standard. If it is that they wrongfully disconnect you, um, you know that you should have that you pay up everything, but they came and they wrongfully disconnected you. Maybe they got your lot number wrong, or maybe there's a glitch in the system, so it didn't show that you paid a week ago, etc. That's a wrongful disconnection. In the case of JPS, they have 5 hours to reconnect you. In the case of NWC, they have 8 hours to reconnect you. And if they don't, then that's a breach of a guaranteed standard, and you are to be compensated. If you went to a new premises in the case of JPS and you apply for a new connection, they have a certain time as long as you sign the contract and you fulfill all the obligations that they have laid out, and they don't come within the time stipulated in your guaranteed standard, then that's another breach. If there's a default on your meter and you report it and they recognize that there's a faulty meter, they have a timeline within which to rectify that faulty meter. So those are some of, if you ask for an investigation into a matter into pertaining to your account, there's a timeline within which they should respond to that request for an investigation and a timeline within which they should respond in terms of executing an investigation. So those are some of the guaranteed standards that we have put in place for JPS and NWC. And you hear me talking about compensation.
Right.
What are compensation? Compensation is a monetary compensation for any breach of the guaranteed standards for either JPS and NWC. And in the case of JPS, it's equivalent to whatever your reconnection fee is. So about $1,600 is your reconnection fee now for residential customers. In the case of commercial customers, I think it's 4 times service charge. That's the compensation, because it's not only residential customers now who who can challenge JPS for any breach of the guaranteed standards, but commercial customers as well. So for any breach of those guaranteed standards, it's 4 times the service charge for commercial customers and the equivalent of your reconnection fee in the case of a residential customer. In the case of NWC for residential customers, it's 4 times the service charge. And your service charge is about 700 and something dollars for residential customers. If you multiply that by 4, it's over $3,000. And in some cases, that's a whole water bill right there. And persons can, this amount is added to your next bill. So you don't get it in your pocket, but it's credited in your next bill.
I understand. I'm actually taking a look here because you did go through a few of the JPS guaranteed standards. I'm taking a look at the NWC guaranteed standards, and I see here in the type of compensation column, claim and automatic. Could you explain the differences between these two?
So there are different types of compensation. So there's some, the automatic means that you don't have to fill out a claim form
Right.
to bring attention to the fact that there was a breach and that you are to be compensated on your next bill. Claim means that you are to fill out a claim form, and this claim form should be accessible on your NWC website or on the OUR website. Um, Pre-COVID, we'll say, okay, just go to your customer service office as well, but I know that there has been some restriction, but
Right.
your customer service representatives at those offices would normally have copies of the claim form for you to fill out as well. In any event, you have to hand it in personally, but you can just go and drop it off. I know some have drop boxes, etc. So some breaches you have to fill out a claim form, and some are automatically applied to your bill. In the case of in JPS, we have moved to make practically all of them automatic, which means that customers no longer have to fill out a claim form to get
Okay.
compensation for a breach once a breach is identified and accepted by JPS.
You mentioned that that's something that you would have moved to with the JPS. Is this something that will be happening with the NWC as well, where the claims will be
Yes,
moved to automatic? Oh, that's wonderful news.
yes, yes. We're
That's
moving to that. And in fact, I think on another program, Collect Good, our consumer affairs specialist would have mentioned that we're going to do a comprehensive review of all guaranteed standards. And this is one thing that we'll be looking at with respect to the NWC guaranteed standards.
I understand. Okay, so there's something you said just now I wanted to get back to, but it's oh yes, I was essentially going to say that this takes the hassle. This move by the OUR takes the hassle out of the process for consumers, and that's really good.
Yes. Yes. And again, we got feedback over the years. We're always moving to tweak the guaranteed standards based on feedback. Again, they were implemented for customers. We have to listen to them within reason. And so one of the things was, yeah, I know there was a breach, but I really can't be bothered to go fill out a claim form and then go drop it off. And it's too much trouble for,
Mm.
And so we said, hey, these are now automatic in the case of JPS, and we're moving to do so for the end, obviously.
Okay, and just to remind persons that they can access the full list in terms of the full breakdown of the guaranteed standards on the utility providers websites as well as on the OUR website.
On the OER's website. In fact, for the sake of the competition, we have also put it on our competition page. So persons are free to go on our website. On the right hand, I keep having to do this just to make sure. There's a banner. Yes, there's a horizontal banner, no, a vertical banner. Horrible at this. About the guaranteed standards jingle competition. And if they click on it, then they get every information, including the guaranteed standards brochures for NWC and JPS.
Excellent. And I was going to note of the brochure. By the way, the website for the OUR is our.org.jm for persons searching for it and for the details on the guaranteed standards and the jingle competition. Now, I have in front of me, as I mentioned before, the NWC guaranteed standards. And Elizabeth, you had gone through a few for JPS. I wanted to just read maybe 2 or 3 from the NWC or for the NWC. Bill customer for adjustment within 3 months of identification of the error or subsequent replacement of faulty meter. So persons should expect that service to be done within the 3-month time frame. We have here under delivery of customer service. The NWC must acknowledge the customer's written complaint after receipt within a maximum of 5 working days. Under payment of compensation, the NWC must process the claim within a maximum of 30 days after the claim is received and make payment. Automatic credits should also be made within this period. And it is recommended here too that the customer should make their claim within 120 days.
Yeah.
So these are just, I think, maybe 3 of quite a few of the guaranteed standards that persons can, make themselves familiar with. So that is always there for you to access.
Definitely.
So for our viewers or listeners, feel free to leave your questions in the comment section. I will find a way to refresh and find them and pitch them to.
Yeah. But notwithstanding that, Twyla, we want people to mention that there is in their jingle competition, to mention that there are guaranteed standards in place to protect consumer rights. And just maybe highlight a few of them. Mention the words guaranteed standards in your jingle. That's a good thing to do. Mention OUR as well, since we develop and monitor the guaranteed standards. It's a product of the Office of Utilities Regulation, which regulates the utility services in Jamaica.
Right, and that actually is a good lead into what I was going towards in terms of questions regarding the jingle.
Yeah.
People really should be focusing on the guaranteed standards and their full-bodied lists, of things that the agencies, the utility corporations need to, hold to essentially for consumers.
Mm-hmm.
How would you advise somebody looking to, use this material to structure their jingles, to maybe not have it bogged down with it,
Right.
to kind of mention it? How would you advise someone?
Well, I'm not a lyricist, but I do know that some that we have received so far, persons have found very creative ways of incorporating the guaranteed standards, and I'm so amazed because within a minute they've been able to incorporate aspects of the guaranteed standards in that 1 minute jingle, because we have said don't make your jingle more than a minute. So I would ask them to just go, and the main thing is there are one pages in terms of the brochure. It's very easy to read.
Mm-hmm.
Go and read it. And when you read it, you have a basic idea what the guaranteed standards are and what they stand for. And if that's clear in your mind, then it will be easier for you to create some lyrics around it.
That's so true. I was wondering if you could remind us a little bit about some of the rules of the competitions. I know that of the competition because I know that there are quite a few. Because remember,
yes,
McGregor would have gone through the full thing when we spoke once.
yes,
There are some of some general rules, including you mentioned
yes.
about a minute. So the length, where persons can submit entries, some more about the details, or even where persons can find it. That would be.
All right.
Be good.
So let's talk a bit about the competition rules. So what we're saying is that use only original music for your entries. We're into originality, and it's something that we can't stress enough, Twyla, because we want to ensure that there is no copyright issues once you send something into us. And we have a group of very talented judges, and we'll mention them a little later, and they will recognize if it is that this rhythm already exists. 1 minute, no more than 1 minute for your jingle, because again, remember that a jingle, for those who may not be totally off it, is it's like a musical ad, a musical commercial, and we hear them all the time. I always refer to, for example, the J&GI Shorty jingle. A lot of people are singing that because it's so. When we do workshops about the jingle competition and we ask persons to name it, invariably we hear about the anchor for green glass.
Yes.
Everybody, that resonates. Yes, even young people who I think that I would have stopped coming on quite a while ago. I don't know if they have it has resurfaced why so many young people are aware of it. But the idea of a jingle is to make the message resonate more.
Mm-hmm.
When I say to persons, for example, what's the number for Gas Pro? And I hear a youngster say 18884 Gas Pro. That's their jingle. So jingles are musical commercials, to oversimplify it, that will have an immediate sense of recall. It tends to have something that is very repetitive that people tend to latch onto. Their key message, it tends to be very repetitive. For example, again, the Gas Pro, because they're always repeating their number in it. So immediately when you need a gas and it says Gas Pro, you don't know the number for Gas Pro, you just remember you just start singing that song. So it must be catchy. It must be very catchy.
With the JPS jingle, well, the ad is on TV. 1-822255577.
There you go. Exactly. So that is what a jingle is, and that's what we want you to create for the guaranteed standard. Something that is short, a minute, repetitive, catchy. Feel free to use the. We're in Jamaica, so we're not going to say no to dancehall. It's part of our culture. Any type of music that you're comfortable with, R&B, who knows, dancehall, upbeat music, reggae, go to town. We want you to explore
Of
your
course.
creativity.
I'm so happy you mentioned that level of
Yeah,
inclusivity because some persons,
yes.
say it's government or it's OUR, so they may want to keep themselves in a box, but it's
No, we're
very
in Jamaica. We're in Jamaica. In fact, we're saying it doesn't have to be in English either. It can't be in Spanish. We really don't speak Spanish in Jamaica. But we're saying the Creole, patois, if you're creating a little dancehall thing, it's kind of hard to keep it in standard English all the time, right?
mm-hmm.
So we're saying, feel free to be comfortable with what it is, but the key thing is read up on the guaranteed standards. We really want it to be about the guaranteed standards. It's not about the OUR, although we wanted to incorporate that name, Office of Utilities Regulation, in there somewhere. But it's not about the OUR. It's about the guaranteed standards, and that is what we want people to give us good, exciting lyrics and melody and rhythm about the guaranteed standards for JPS and for NWC. That's what we want.
Now, that's a very important differentiation, a very important distinction, because some
Yeah.
persons may hear that the OUR is having a jingle competition and
Yes.
immediately think that it's a jingle about the OUR.
Yes.
So just to reiterate, it's about the
Yeah.
guaranteed standards, and there should be
Yes.
mention of the OUR, but it's mainly about the guaranteed standards that persons need to learn more about. That's what we're trying to give publicity to.
And
Thank you.
Twyla, originality we say. Originality we say. So original lyrics, original melody, original rhythm. No
Mhm.
copyright issues. Make sure that your work is your own.
Right, that's so
Yeah.
important. I wanted us to also go through the categories and the prizes because that's a huge motivator, extrinsic motivator for a
Oh
lot of
yes.
groups and
Yes.
persons looking to enter. So could we
Yeah.
get a little bit of an overview of those?
So we, as I said before, persons can enter in either one of two categories. They can enter in the open category or they can enter in the students category. So in the open category, we're saying Jamaicans 20 and over. Um, doesn't matter your occupation or anything, feel free because I know we're very, very musically talented in this country. Um, I always say we can go on a street corner and we can just talk about the ripe apple and then we say we could create a rhythm and we could create some music about the ripe apple and people are creating some amazing things. I'm always fascinated. In the students category, saying Jamaicans 12 years and over, students 12 years and over in a secondary or post-secondary institution or a music club.
Mhm.
And for those two, we're recognizing the top two winners. So the first place winner in the open or students category will get $250,000. In the open category, that winner will get $250,000. In the students category, that winner will get $250,000. In the open category, the second place winner will get $100,000. And in the second place students category, that winner will get also $100,000. But there's a special incentive in the students category, Twyla. We recognize that music teachers will be playing a great part in helping their students to build the rhythm and get the lyrics just right and a nice complement in terms of the correct melody and so on. And so we're also recognizing the students' effort. So for that winning student, their teacher will get $100,000 cash. And for that second place student, their teacher will get $75,000. So we're asking them, when you complete the entry form, please include the name of your teacher if it is that you got assistance from your teacher. Maybe you didn't, but if it is that your teacher did assist you, and we know that teachers are very, very involved. We have quite a number of workshops, and I know quite a number of them have sent in entries from their students. Recognize your teacher on the entry form so that if it is that you place first or second, then we'll know the name of the teacher so that we can write a nice back check for them as well.
Excellent. I wanted to also ask what email address
Yes,
person
your teacher
should.
did assist you, and we know that teacher.
Wow, you cut. I'm so sorry. You cut out
No,
just now,
I
and then
did. Okay.
so sorry about that. Did you get a chance to complete your thought? You were talking about the music teachers.
Okay, so I was recognizing that music teachers in some instances would have been helping their students to enter the competition. And so for the first place student, their teacher will get $100,000. And for the second place student, their teacher will get $75,000. And we're encouraging the student, when you complete the entry form, if there's a teacher that assists you, there's provision on the form for you to include the name of your teacher and the contact details for your teacher.
Excellent. I wanted you to also state the email address that persons can send their entries to. I know there's a
Yeah.
specific email address. What is it?
Yeah, man, there's a specific email address. It's so rhythmic, I'm always singing it. It's gsjingle@gmail.com. gsjingle@gmail.com. Um, I like the alliterative thing. It was purely coincidental, but after we created it, we're like, yeah, man, that works, that works.
And that makes
gsjingle@gmail.com.
so that's gsjingle at gmail.com.
Yes,
Purple.
jingle with a J. Yes.
With a J. Okay, so just to sort of give an overview, persons looking to enter the OUR Guaranteed Standards GS Jingle competition must focus on the guaranteed standards. Yes, mention of the OUR ought to be made, but the focus is on the guaranteed standards, which is what we're trying to, push the publicity around. The deadline, there's a brand new deadline, February 26th at 11:59 p.m. Persons can email their entries into gsjingle@gmail.com. I love that email address. And they're also looking forward to them being 1 minute in length. That's the absolute cap. That's a time cap. All the details on the jingle can be found on the OUR website. That's our.org.jm. I believe that's it. And are there any other details that I'm missing? I'm quite sure there are, but all of the rules are on the website.
All the competition rules are on the website. Everything you need to know is on our website at our.org.jm. In addition to that, while I wanted to remind persons that COVID's still a keep, so we've cut down, we have eliminated the physical handing in of entries, and it's a laborious process. We have persons from all over Jamaica who will be entering, as we have already seen, because we've got quite a bit of submissions. We are saying just send it to us via email. We're not going to be accepting any walk-ins because, like many institutions, we have reduced the number of walk-ins. So send it to gsjingle@gmail.com. And we wanted to send us 3 things. You're going to send us your completed jingle in MP3 format, no more than 20 megabytes. If it is more, then you can send it through file sharing, but please don't make us have to go search for a password to open that, because then we're going to reject it. So make sure that whatever file sharing app that you're using, we don't require a password to actually access your submission. So you're sending us 3 things. You're sending us your completed jingle, mix everything. You are sending us your entry form. Make sure you have the correct one. So there are 2 entry forms on our website, for the open and for the students category. So just look carefully to make sure that you're completing the correct one. So you're going to fill that out and send it to us as well. And in addition to that, so there are 2 things already: your mixed jingle and your entry form. And we want your written lyrics. Very important, because we want to be able to hear clearly or to know clearly exactly what you're saying. Sometimes it's a strain to hear, because we're saying make sure that your voice is, the music is not drowning out your voice. But sometimes they run the lyrics so fast that we're saying, what is that? So when we have the written lyrics, then the guesswork is over. So we know exactly what you're saying. So 3 things: your written lyrics, entry form, and your mixed jingle.
Exactly. Thank you for reiterating that. And we are about to wrap up. I wanted to ask, do you have any final thoughts or words or appeals to persons looking to enter this competition?
Yeah. My appeal, as I said before, keep to the time, 1 minute, original lyrics, melody, and rhythm. Read upon the guaranteed standards, because this competition is about the guaranteed standards. So we definitely want to have lyrics pertaining to the guaranteed standards. Mention the name guaranteed standards in your jingle as well, and have fun and go to town.
Absolutely critical, because that's how some of the best music is made. Jingles too, when fun is being had. So we would have just heard from public affairs specialist with the OUR, Elizabeth Bennett Marsh. I'm sorry, Elizabeth. Yes, Elizabeth Bennett Marsh. She spoke to us about the Guaranteed Standards Jingle competition. And with that, we are coming to the end of another JIS Studio 58A session. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, Elizabeth, thank you for sharing and being part of this discussion. It's actually super important that we get these kinds of messages out there because, I mean, at a time like this, people are looking for all kinds of opportunities to be creative and opportunities to win at something, you know? So don't forget, viewers, to like and share this session. Persons can always come back on the page and take a look at what was discussed. And if you know someone, if you know a group, if you know people who are interested, who are talented, musically inclined, and would like to take a crack at this competition, feel free to share this because this will have so much guidance, so much resources that they can access to improve their chances at winning the competition. And by the way, it's over $1 million or roughly $1 million in cash and prizes that they stand a chance to be part of. So that is also there. Don't forget also that you can comment, leave us still you can still leave questions. You can still leave recommendations for other content that you'd like us to address on Studio 58A. So thank you once more for joining us. I am your host, Twyla Whelan. Please take care, have a great afternoon, and be safe as you traverse the streets. And we'll see you next time on Studio 58A.